very interesting that you point out that specific term because that's one of the elements I like to work with when making music, texture. Um,
Anwar, I want to welcome you to the Distorted Dialogue podcast on the Metal Institute of Thrashology. Anwar is the one man, multi instrument composer, magician behind the project Phendrana.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mike, for having me here.
Thank you
Very
for coming, man. And thanks for the album, dude. What a killer album it was.
good. Thanks for listening to it and thanks for your review of it as well.
Yeah, am I saying this right? Cathexis?
Yes?
Awesome. I'm doing good. So I went back and I even listened again. I listened to it a couple times today, and I listened to I call it the Gloria album, the Sanctum something. It's
Yeah,
a
Sanctum Sic Transit, Gloria Mundi.
That's it. Man, what a great sound. And I wouldn't even call it music. It seems more like a soundscape. Like you there's so many influences, so many different sounds, so much talent and just such great listens. How do you come up with these amazing sounds?
I don't know. I've been making music since I have memory. That's my way of dealing with the world, and I try to be as honest as I can during the process. So there's of course a lot of influence from the music I listen to, but in the end, I try to have a very personal speech through music. So yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading that you're trained classically as a classical composer.
Yes.
So how does classical music, because I went back and was listening to Cathexis again today, and there's almost some like jazz influences and some like a lot of classical. Like I really liked, I don't know if it was a flute or a clarinet in the middle. It's Gangwar. I don't know if I'm saying that
Uh,
right.
in
Gonger.
in which song? In
There's a
Cathexis?
song, yeah, I think on Cathexis. It started with a G. I'm gonna look it up, and
Ah,
it had like some flute or maybe clarinet or some type
yeah,
of woodwind. And
yeah,
man,
it
was
was a
it
flute.
oh so good! I was like, I've never heard like that sound in except for like Jethro Tull, but like I've never heard that kind of sound put into something this heavy and this dramatic. And I was like, wow, I've heard a saxophone before with like Rivers of Nile, but when I heard that like flute sound, I was like, oh man, this is great. Like little nuances like that are what made that album so damn good for me.
Yeah, that was a flute indeed. One of my favorite instruments. It has a very nice timbre. It's very soft. It's very elegant, and I think it's a counterweight to the extreme sections of that song. And yeah, we also associate the saxophone as a very, classy and elegant woodwind. But as you said, Rivers of Nile and White Ward and many other metal bands have taken that precious instrument into extreme music, and it does work. Yeah.
Yeah. I also liked how you used it was very limited use of like narration and you injected in like little nuances for lack of a better term like wind or maybe you could hear like the rustling of the wind and it made it more of a dynamic listen. Like the word I kept coming back to when I was listening to your stuff was texture. Like your stuff is so textured. I can almost feel like the sound. It was just so vivid, you know? It was great stuff, man. Great.
Hey, it's very interesting that you point out that specific term because that's one of the elements I like to work with when making music, texture. Um, I like instruments not just because of their melodic and harmonic qualities, but also as a texture to the overall sound. So yeah, there are many sections that have cellos and ebos, flutes,
Sure.
etc., that work more as textures rather than melodic.
Yeah. Now, I wonder how much of that do you draw from? I feel like you being a classical background and a classical composer background, you have, I would think, more of an arsenal to draw from, and you would be have more sounds in your head or in your ear than a typical metal musician would have or reference from. I feel that you incorporate a larger sound because you have those symphonic instruments at your disposal and you know how to incorporate them properly without just jamming sound in where you're not trying to make something work. It's just naturally evolving, but you know how to place things naturally. Whereas sometimes when it seems forced.
Yeah, when it comes to classical music, I like to work with subtle orchestrations uh, instead of, as you said, just jamming a lot of instruments together. But I like to work with textures, and I like to allow the textures to develop themselves and take their time to to develop and to immerse the listener into a specific atmosphere. So when I work with classical pieces, I tend to give a lot of weight to the orchestration and the way the different instruments behave with each other. That's something that's very present, of course, in symphonic music, but more so in chamber music,
Okay.
where there's a lot of there's more of a freedom for the players to interact with each others and I wouldn't say improvise because it's not that common in classic music to improvise, but to actually listen to each other without the need of a director to impose their view through the whole orchestra. It's more of a group of musicians making music all together.
I had there's a guy I met through an organization. He was like, I hope he's still alive. He's like 94 and he's still like a world-class clarinet player. And he was talking to me, he was teaching me a little bit about theory, but then we were talking about how it's a conversation on the stage and almost each instrument's trying to talk and they have something to say. And that really helped shape my viewpoints as far as how like I listen to music now. And I look for more of like a story in the music just even off of like instrumentals. And I think like your music allowed me to do it really well because it was a very patient album too. Nothing felt rushed or pressured, or like you said, you gave it the right amount of time to organically unfold. Whereas, like, there was a lot more negative space than I think a typical metal album would have. In the negative space, I love Exodus is my favorite band, and I like music around 400 beats per minute. So there was moments of your music I'm like, come on, just get it out. You know I want it. And then like it comes out and you're like, whoa, 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 let's slow it down. I want to go back. And oh
Yeah.
man, it was such a dynamic listen. I really enjoyed like the storytelling through the sound. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I like to allow the music to take its time to develop and to get to a point, and that sometimes takes several minutes. And I am a fan of extreme music as well. I enjoy my death metal, I enjoy my grindcore, but I always tend to go back to the music that allows a listening space, dedicated listening space, where you need to interact with the music.
Yeah. And yesterday Exodus dropped a new song and it's called Goliath, and they put where the typical thrash metal solo would be. They had a violinist buried like underneath in the mix, and she was playing violin in replace of the solo. And like the first couple of times I heard it, I was like, "Oh, this sounds odd to me." But the more I listened to it, and the more I got into it, and I think like that triggered. And then when I went back and listened to your album, I was like, "These are non-traditional sounds." in metal, and I really enjoy that. So then this morning, when I went back to revisit your catalog, I had some good news and I had some long drive. So it was really nice just to be stuck in traffic, just sitting there with nowhere to go, and this like music that just allowed me to escape to wherever I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it really like I think it's really cool when albums can do that because not a lot of albums have that power over me, you know? And it was really said something about Cathexis. And I wonder how much of that did you grow up as like a classical music fan or
Yes, I've always listened to both classical music and metal, and there are many genres that have come after that, progressive rock, um, jazz, ambient music, but it's always classical music and metal, the ones that have been my companions for life. Yeah.
now as far as classical, like is there do you lean towards certain classical, like say maybe piano versus strings, or because you're so well rounded, I imagine you could like pick up multiple instruments. But like for me, I lean towards the strings because I like guitar, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I lean towards periods maybe.
Okay.
I I like Baroque period a lot. Uh, I like Romantic period as well. I'm not that fan of I'm not a big fan of the classical period. I must admit.
Yeah.
So I don't listen to most Mozart or Haydn that much.
Okay.
But I love everything that has come before or after them.
Okay. See, I like Mozart and I like Locatelli a lot, if you know who Locatelli is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like him a lot too.
I lean more towards Bach, of course,
Yeah.
Corelli, Vivaldi. I also like some late romantic composers like Mahler. Mahler is probably my favorite composer. Beethoven, of course. And I do listen to contemporary classical music. It took
Okay.
me a while to get into it, but there's this specific composer called Takemitsu. He was from Japan. He's probably the greatest composer from Japan. Yeah, he has such a interesting approach to music that, I mean, contemporary classical music is sometimes difficult to listen to because of the harmonic system they implement, but he's like a magician when it comes to instrumentation and orchestration, the way he handles the textures, the way he handles the negative space. There's a lot of influence from the uh, Japanese and Chinese art, like paintings, to his music. You know, to work with space, to work with silence, to work with moments of nothingness.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I lived in Japan for a year and
Wow.
I really appreciated their culture. The oddest part about like living in Japan was I was stationed there in the Marines. All of my friends were Hispanic there, so like I ended up going to Japan and I learned Spanish because like they were all from like Mexico or Ecuador, Guatemala. And so with you being in Mexico, do you listen to a lot of like traditional Mexican music too, like salsa or merengue or
No, I don't. I
okay,
do listen to some regional music like sones jarochos,
okay,
uh, regional music from Veracruz or yeah, but not that much into Mexican music, you know. But also Mexican music is so huge.
yeah,
Uh, there are different um, kinds of music depending on the region you're in. Uh, there's of course your salsa and your mariachis and whatever, but yeah, I lean more towards the folkloric music when it comes to.
okay. I think too, like now that you said Baroque period, I keep thinking like King Diamond and Baroque going together, and I'm not sure if that's the right period, but like I got that sound in my head, that music box Baroque
I haven't
classical
thought of,
sound.
yeah, it could be. Another band that could fit perfectly into Baroque period, which I mean, their music is like Baroque music with electric guitars, is Children of Bottom, of course.
Yeah, yeah, and the speeds there too, like
Yeah.
this, man, yeah, I'm gonna be listening to him today. I have my daughter does ballet 7 day, well, like 7 days a week. So we get a lot of Tchaikovsky. I get a lot of Tchaikovsky in the house. So I get, used to that. But it was just when I was listening to the stuff today, I was like, I wonder how much of it's almost like your album could be just the soundtrack to a silent movie. And it would be one cool movie. And I thought more like it had more of like a emotional weight to it. And so I thought maybe that came from your composer side of your brain, whereas you could dial into emotion and feeling more and know how to pull that out of the listener. Whereas I feel like your standard metal writer wouldn't.
Well, I think there's a lot of metal, and there are some metal subgenres or some metal bands that can be much similar to classical music than others. And I think the one of the greatest similarities between classical and metal is this room for emotions to be said as honestly as possible. Of course, there's your commercial metal and everything, but there's also, especially black metal, I believe it's a subgenre that has allowed itself to indulge in these very sophisticated emotional music and long compositions and whatever, even more so than prog metal. So yeah, I think that would be the main connection between those two uh,
Yeah.
musical words. So when I write my music, I try to have that approach. Emotion should be the most important element to it.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, there's theory, there's stuff that can make that can help me have a more um, coherent speech, musical speech, but that should always come after the initial is emotion is exposed.
Okay. So when you start writing, like, do you write for the song itself or do you write for an album as a whole? Because I'm noticing with the older writers, like the older metal bands, they write full albums and they're concerned with how track two flows into three, into four. Whereas, like, a lot of the newer and younger metal bands, they just write one song because of the algorithm. And it seems to me that there was like a big disconnect between two camps. You have the old school and the new school, and they're just completely different paths.
Yeah, I do write the full album. Uh,
I thought so, but I just figure I'd ask,
yeah, I mean, I write, of course, song by song, but for example, I wrote Cathexis in order from beginning to end, because some songs have their meaning depending on where they are, what has come before them, and
Yeah.
what's coming up after them. So I do like to compose the full experience rather than just individual songs.
I, that's the same way I like to listen to it too, because like you said, I want to see if this is a softer song, it may suck as a single, but if it's bookended by two other songs, it may pull out the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, and like I like it so much better. So when you're writing for the album, do you start with like an idea, or do you start with a sound, or do you start with an emotion you want to convey? Or
Yeah, I started with the idea of dynamic range and counterparts.
okay,
That was the main musical idea behind the album, to work with volume as a musical element and to have fewer extreme sections because those sections tend to stick a lot and to uh, be the spotlight of the album. But I like to counterweight that with a lot of softer material, which has the same value as the extreme catchy riffs that you can listen to. So those were my two main um, concepts for the music. From there on, I just started writing beginning to end. I started with the main guitar lead for Cathexis, which I actually had stored since 2019, I believe,
Okay.
because I stopped playing guitar a lot. So when I grabbed my guitar every 6 months or so, that's the only thing I played. I played that riff, and then back to the guitar case.
Okay.
So when having this idea, that was like the starting point, and from there on, just try to make the
Yeah.
music.
I interviewed a guy last week, and I just put it up Sunday. And he's in a band from New Jersey called Legionary, and he's a one man multi instrumentalist. And uh, man, same thing with the writing. He started at the very first note, wrote all the songs in order, and all his stuff was written about positivity. And it really like almost draws us. Well, they're two different sounds of thrash metal and I don't even know what I would call it. Progressive atmospheric death metal. I don't know what I would call your stuff. It's complicated, but it's great. And for being two completely different sounds, it's almost like they walk the same path. And I think it's really cool. And it was really neat how, like in a 1 week time frame, I got to experience both. And I think that was really cool how they played into each other. A complete album you don't even have any idea. You've never, it hasn't even been released yet. And it's just so cool that both came together at the same. I was listening to both albums at the same time, so it was kind of cool, you know?
Amazing. Yeah. Despite the musical differences, we humans have a lot in common. So that's the magic of music. You can have a personal speech or personal experience told through music that can resonate with other people, independently of the style, the musical style, because everyone has ups and downs, everyone has low points, high points. So yeah, it's different ways of telling the same experiences we have to deal with as human beings.
Yeah. But I think when you're telling the same story, the stories can be so different dependent upon who's telling it too, even though it's the exact same story, you know?
Yes.
So, are you gonna, as a one man band, are you gonna go out and play some shows?
Yeah, we have a small mini tour here in Mexico in April. We're playing with Ancient, a Norwegian black metal act.
Okay.
That's our first time playing outside the city and our first time having a tour, of course. So we've always had one-off shows. Uh,
Sure.
we haven't played since early 2024, for example. And that year we just played two gigs. So now it's time to have a full, proper live lineup, and I'm
Okay.
very excited for that because I enjoy being on stage.
Yeah.
Uh, it's, I think the thing I have a lot of fun with making music instead of I mean, I compose because I need to, but I don't necessarily have fun
Right.
composing.
I get it.
But playing on stage is very fun. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy interacting with the people.
Sure. Now, do you have like I'm sure a set of live touring musicians that you roll with? Like you have a set crew, or do those people like come in and out as they can?
Well, they have come in and out because we've had very few shows.
Okay.
So it's very strange that we have the same lineup for two shows. That only happened in 2024 because there were two gigs that happened like 2 days apart.
Oh, okay.
But when we had those opportunities, it was more about, setting everything up again and gathering the musicians to know if they were still up to playing live with Phendrana. So this time around, I do need to have this full lineup, um, as a official lineup.
Sure, sure.
The drummer has been with us since 2022, but he won't make it to the tour, unfortunately. The bassist is the same that we had in 2024. And if everything goes right, the guitarist will be the producer of the album, Alonso Huerta. And he has been in the project way before everyone else. He dates back to 2016. He's my friend since high school, but for many reasons, he hasn't been able to actually play live with Phendrana.
Sure. And I guess like touring got to be harder too because, like jobs and kids and family and, I guess a tour would be harder to put together.
Yes, we are all full-time musicians, so we see this as an opportunity to our professional careers. It would, of course, be more difficult if we had other jobs
Yeah.
and if we had other ambitions, like starting a family.
Sure, sure.
But it's always a sacrifice. I would love to have my wife, my kids, and whatever, but that's not my priority right now. So this allows me to dedicate as much time as possible to Vendrana.
That's awesome. Do I have so many questions. So,
Yeah.
what's the metal scene like in Mexico? Like, there's not too many metal bands I've worked with out of Mexico. There's a few, and I think Our Divide was one of them, one of the bigger ones in Area 51. But
Mhm.
I'm just curious as to like, I don't hear too many waves coming from Mexico, and I haven't heard too much Mexican metal, and I'd like to hear more. Who should I check out?
There's a lot of Mexican bands, have a lot of, I mean, the Mexican scene is huge, huge.
Okay, that's great
Yeah.
to hear.
And we not to brag about it, but we have this reputation of being such a loyal and uh, intense fan base. When bands from around the world come to Mexico, they always end up very happy with the response of the people. And we also have a lot of Mexican acts that are, just amazing. The Cousin would be one of them.
How do you say that?
The Cousin.
Okay.
I think they're now living in the US, but
Okay.
they started as a Mexican band. They play old school death metal, but they are brilliant at what they do. And there are a lot of modern acts that are very uh,
I have
yeah.
like I have a ton of people I work with in Venezuela and Brazil and Costa Rica, and I'm trying to get like a little web built where like, bands can talk to each other and like we can all grow together. I think that would be the most advantageous way to go about things. And I think metal needs to unite a little bit more. So,
Yeah, of course, and it certainly does, at least here in Mexico. And the Mexican scene is trying to expand itself because Mexico, unfortunately, is a very centralized country. So a lot of the opportunities are here in Mexico City. That means, and Mexico City is huge. We have a lot of people here. Like,
sure.
I don't even know how.
Millions and millions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So a lot of festivals, a lot of gigs, a lot of things are happening here in Mexico City and uh, the outside cities as well. But lately, there have been more festivals outside Mexico City and in other cities trying to, yeah, to expand the scene into because also Mexico is huge. So
Yeah.
that's great also for other bands from outside of Mexico City to have this opportunity to play in these shows, in these festivals and whatever. So it certainly is a very strong fan base, a strong scene here in Mexico City. Despite how the things work with promoters and all of that shit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think every country has that problem though.
I don't know. I can speak for other countries, but I can certainly say that things here in Mexico could be easier
Sure,
for
sure.
for local bands.
Yeah, and I've started to see it in some other countries where I've worked with like a lot of bands, and you can start seeing the bands like as they form together, it makes the scene stronger, and then that scene starts expanding out. And I just wish there was like a giant net of metal for the whole world, and like you could just
Yeah.
go to any country and get like 200, 400 bands and just have quality metal. And that's my goal. I want to find every good metal album ever made. That's my entire goal in life.
Yeah, you're going on the right path because it seems that you listen to a lot of music, dude.
Oh, I have I used to be a machine gunner, so I have like ringing ears, and the only way to like kill the tinnitus or whatever it's called is music. So
Wow.
that's all I listen to, just 24 hours a day, just music's going.
Wow.
Yeah. But hey, it's a better hobby than what I was doing to kill it, you know. I was drinking beer, now it's listening to records, so much healthier,
Yeah.
much healthier.
I can relate to that, certainly.
Yeah. So what is next for Cathexis then after these shows, these couple shows, like this mini tour you guys have? Are you guys looking for another album or are you just gonna ride this one for a while or
I do want to write more music because I tend to take long breaks between compositions. And I also tend to fumble with classical music, then extreme music, then back to classical music. And I am doing some classical compositions right now, which are surprisingly working very good. They're coming out very fast because I tend to be a very slow writer.
okay.
So I don't want to take that much, like between the debut and Cathexis, it was like 8 years, I believe.
Yeah.
That will certainly not happen again.
But how much of that though was COVID? Like a lot of bands struggled with those years.
No, it was not COVID. It was
Oh.
just me focusing on my college years and
Yeah.
classical music, and I kind of neglected my extreme facet for quite a long time. Uh, but if anything, I think COVID helped me write more music, classical music. Yeah.
So do you lean as a listener? Do you lean more towards classical or do you lean more towards metal?
I I I I couldn't say.
I think they're if you strip off like the distortion of metal, I think they're very similar sounds because a lot of classical music has that 700 notes per minute. And like a lot of that is like, could be shreddy for lack of a better term. And
Yeah.
I think that, it's a very similar sound as long as you take that distortion off of it. It could
Yeah.
please both sides. I
I,
guess you
I
could.
think
Yeah.
yeah, I think I lean more towards emotion, towards emotional music and honest music, music that actually has something to say and says it in a very honest and uh, uh, interesting way, be it classical music or metal or prog rock or jazz or even drone music, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
That's the thing I lean more to.
Yeah, I do that too. I listen to music for how I want to feel. So like if this moment I want to be angry, like to get my frustration out, then that's what I pick. So I can
Yeah.
see I feel like when I interview somebody, I'm just always looking at like a straight metal musician, whereas I have somebody classical in front of me and I'm like, "Oh man, I got so many questions." So do you find it harder to write classical than metal or
Hmm.
is it the
Hmm.
same approach to writing them?
No, it's definitely not the same approach because they both have different musical ways of behaving themselves. For example, here in metal music, we rely a lot on riffs and sections and
Grooves.
uh, groups. That's something that almost never happens in classical music. You don't
Okay.
have
Yeah.
a verse or a chorus in classical music.
Yeah.
So the way you think of a structure is very different. Even though I try to have a classical approach to how the structure of the songs will turn out, there's still these elements that are very characteristic to metal music. You need your riffs, you need your drums, you need your groups, you need things that make you feel like you're listening to metal.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the main difference. But if it's harder or easier, I think that would depend on the person you ask. For me, it depends on my mood.
So today it might be easier to write metal, and tomorrow it might be easier to write classical.
Yeah, for me, it works like that.
That's cool,
Unfortunately,
man. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it would be great to be good at both things all the time, but Yeah, I tend to have these periods when I'm very stuck into classical or very stuck into metal.
Man, I think that's really cool, man. Really cool. I wish I could write anything. I just play badly and have my wife and kids tell me how terrible I am at it.
I mean, the first thing you need to do is just do it.
Yeah, I do. I sit down every night, make some noise, just have fun. Well,
Composing is it's like practicing an instrument. The only thing that can make you better at composing is composing.
makes sense. Makes sense. Well, hey, I hate to cut this short, but we're running out of time. I don't know if you have more interviews anyways,
No
but
problem.
I had a blast talking to you, but I had a blast listening to your album too, man. Really enjoyed it. Both of them.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm very glad it resonated with you.
Yeah, it's just great stuff. And I wish more people would go out and listen to Phendrana. And do you have physical product out there people can order?
Yes, we have a standard CD. We have a limited wooden box with some goodies in there, and both are available through our Bandcamp.
Okay, so people need to head over to Phendrana's Bandcamp and check out Cathexis. It's a killer album, man. Think I might order it today.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah.